A 3-plate bench press is achievable for pretty much anyone who tries to hit it. If you heard that and you feel offended, you should probably click off this video. If it offended you, you probably have a bunch of self-limiting beliefs holding you back, and that's why you aren't as strong as you want to be. And I understand. I used to have those exact same beliefs. I used to see the big guys in my gym benching 3 plates, or some of the fitness YouTubers on YouTube, and I used to just excuse it like, oh, they're taking steroids, or my genetics aren't as good as theirs, and stuff like that. When in reality, my approach to getting stronger was just pretty shit. I followed cookie cutter generic programs like 5x5 or 531, just like you do. I benched once or twice a week. I didn't push my bodybuilding accessories very hard. I refused to gain weight because I was scared of losing my abs and getting fat. My technique needed a lot of work. And I thought I knew everything about training. No one could tell me anything about getting stronger because I knew it all. If that sounds anything like you, in this video, I'm going to help you learn from my mistakes, and I'm going to tell you exactly how you can also build a 3-plate bench press. So my genetics are shit, to be honest, and I've benched 140 kilos multiple times. I've got a skinny neck. I've got really skinny joints and wrists. I'm not that big. And when I started training, I was 60 kilos, 132 pounds at 6 feet tall. I was so skinny that you could see my ribs through my chest, and I couldn't even bench press the empty 20 kg barbell. Now I can literally bench press 140 kilos for reps. I do it multiple times a week, and I've even bench pressed 160 kilos in competition. So if you follow the advice I'm going to give you in this video, one day you will also be able to bench press 140 kilos, and then you'll look back and you'll think, oh, actually my genetics aren't that bad at all. Like, these guys aren't that much better than me. I'm actually like capable of getting that strong as well. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'm Ben. I'm a strength coach. I have a master's degree in exercise science, and I've helped hundreds of people to get bigger and stronger. If you want me to coach you personally, top link in the description, or if you would prefer just to have a program to go and follow, click the second link in the description. So here is exactly how I would recommend you set up your training program to bench press 140 kilos or 3 plates. First things first, I would recommend that you bench press 3 or 4 times a week. Yes, that high. And before you run to the comments and say, oh, that's way too much, I can't recover from that, that's going to destroy my shoulders, you better bench press 3 plates already, because if you don't, please just put your ego to the side, listen to what I'm telling you, understand that there are people who know more about training than you, and I'm making this video to help you get stronger. Like, I just want to see you hit some PRs and hit that 3-plate bench. So listen to what I'm telling you, okay? So we're going to bench press 3 or 4 times per week. Now, if you are currently benching like once or twice a week, maybe don't jump straight into 4. Start with 3 times, and then we can gradually work it up. So basically, how we're going to set this up 4 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week. Number 1 is going to be our heavy primary bench press. Number 2 is going to be our secondary, more volume focused bench press. Number 3, tertiary bench press, which is going to be like slightly lighter. Maybe we have a top set in there and then some lighter volume work in the higher rep ranges. Number 4 is going to be something basically to bridge the gap between these 3 and just apply a bit more stress. So it's going to be something much lighter, maybe like a dumbbell press or even like an incline bench press, something like that. So let's break them down. So bench press number 1, our primary heavy bench press. This is the main bench press of the week. This is the one where you're going to take your strongest grip, you're going to use your strongest technique, and we're going to try to lift the most weight as possible. We're going to program this primary bench press with a top set back off approach. So we're going to do a top set of 1 to 3 reps at 80% or above. Usually on the bench press, I'll use a top single or a top double just because you can usually handle a bit more volume and intensity on the bench press. Then we're going to do some back off sets, and we're going to do 3 to 5 sets of 4 to 6 reps in the 65 to 75% range. And if you've seen some of my other videos, the intensity on the bench press is a little bit higher than the squat and the deadlift, just because naturally the weights are lighter, you can recover from it a little bit more easily. So we've got the top set and the back off. Now, just to give you kind of a practical example of how to do that, maybe we do a top single at RPE 7, and then we do 4 sets of 5 at 70% of an estimated 1 rep max, okay? That is your primary bench press. This is the top priority one. This is the one that I want you to aim to add weight to every single week, okay? Now, the secondary bench press, and by the way, just for like the split of this training, I would recommend you do it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Okay, so it's spread out nicely. If you'd like a structure to follow, click that link in the description to follow the actual program. So after your Monday primary bench press, on day 2, we're going to be doing a tertiary bench press, a lighter bench press variation. So this one allows us to recover a little bit from the primary one while still accumulating more practice and more stress on the bench press so that we can continue to get stronger. So on this tertiary bench press, we have an optional top set. So you may do a top set if you feel like you need the extra skill practice. Now that could be 1 to 3 reps, again at like an RPE 5 to 6, so a bit lighter than the primary. Usually here I'll use something like a long pause so we can get a bit of weight off the bar, or maybe like a tempo bench press. So after you've done that top set for skill practice of 1 to 3 reps RPE 5 to 6, we're going to do some back off sets again, but this time a little bit lighter. So maybe we're going to do them in the 60 to 70% range for sets of 6 to 8 reps. So just a little bit less weight on the bar. And usually I'll do these with like a close grip or some kind of variation just to make it a little bit lighter. So to give you a practical example, we might do a long pull single at RPE 5 to 6, and then we might do 3 sets of 8 with a closer grip, okay? Now, on day 3, so you're going to have a day's rest here, then we're going to move to day 3, then we're going to do our secondary bench press. So very much like the primary bench press, we're going to be using our strongest grip, it's just a regular bench press, but this time the focus is going to be on volume rather than intensity. So this time I want you to do a top set again, but it's going to be slightly higher reps. So we're probably going to do a top set of like 4 to 6 reps at RPE 5 to 8. So it starts like RPE 5 on week 1 and it gradually increases throughout the weeks. So we'll do a top set of 5. Let's start it at RPE 5, and then we're going to back down and do 3 to 4 sets of like 4 to 6 reps in that 60 to 75% range again, okay? For the bench press, I would usually go more towards like the 70 to 75% range. And just as an example of how this might look, we might do a top set of 5 at RPE 5, and then we might do 3 sets of 6 at like 70%, for example. So we get a nice dose of volume in there, okay? But it's not too heavy, it's not too close to failure. We can still recover and adapt. Now, on the final day, day 4, this is going to be on Friday. This is for those of you who want to bench press 4 times a week. If you're happy doing 3 times a week, the program is done. That's all you need to do is those first 3 days. If you feel like you need a little bit more, we can do this 4th day. And for most of you, if you want to get to 3 plates, it's probably going to require 4 days of benching. On this 4th day, we're going to do a very light bench press exposure, okay? And we can make it heavier as you adapt, but at first, I would choose a flat dumbbell press. So I would do 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps at RPE 6 to 8. Again, we start light at the start of the block and make it heavier towards the end. Nice and simple, 3 sets of 6 to 8, and we just try and add weight to that each week. Once you're a bit more well adapted to benching more often, we can then go and swap that for something else. So maybe we do an incline bench press or a tempo bench press, and it just gets more and more specific over time the more that we adapt, okay? So I would probably go flat dumbbell press, then an incline barbell press once you're more adapted, then something like a tempo bench or a long pulls bench or something like that, right? And that's going to be your 4-day setup, nice and simple. So we've got a heavy primary bench press day that we aim to add weight to every single week. We've got the tertiary bench press that allows for a bit of recovery, but still applies a bit more bench press, a bit more skill practice. Then we have a day of rest. Then we have our secondary bench press, which is a bit more volume focused to get in some reps, kind of grease the groove, not too heavy again. And then day 4 is going to be something just to kind of bridge the gap between exposures, keep the adaptations fresh, keep our technique feeling sharp, and to keep us ticking over back into that primary bench press, okay? Now, you might be wondering, like, why are we benching this often? Very simple. If you want to get good at something, you need to do it often. Same as any other sport. Like if you were a basketball player, you're a tennis player. If you want to have the best tennis swing on the court or the best dunk on the basketball court, you're going to do it multiple times a week. You're not going to get there doing it once or twice. Doesn't mean every day has to be heavy. We need to be intelligent in how we program it, but you are going to have to do it a bit more frequently than you are currently doing, because once or twice a week hasn't worked for you, didn't work for me, doesn't work for the vast majority of people that I coach. So how do you actually run this program? So we've got the 4-day setup. All you need to do now is keep running that setup over and over again until you can no longer add weight to the bar. For most of you, that's going to last around 4 to 6 weeks. So you run the setup on week 1. Let's say on week 1, you start on your primary bench press with 100 kilos for your top double. Then you go 105 kilos, 110, 115, and then all of a sudden, it feels much harder. And then again, the week after, it feels much harder. We can determine that week 4, that heaviest week, was your peak. So basically, all we do then is we determine that week 4 is your peak. We're going to run 4-week blocks. We're going to stack the blocks on top of each other, aiming to start light, end heavy. And we want to end each block a little bit heavier than the last. So if you started block 1 with 100 kilos, we're going to aim to start block 2 with 102.5 or 105 kilos. And we keep stacking these blocks on top of each other for as long as we can make progress. Obviously, eventually progress is going to start to slow down. When that happens, you can either contact me and I'll coach you personally through it if you click the top link in the description, or you can try and troubleshoot yourself. And I've given some information on this in previous videos, but in general, if you feel fresh, well recovered, ready to go, no aches and pains, I would increase the stimulus a little bit by adding a few sets, increasing the intensity. If you don't feel well recovered, you feel beat up, tired, your joints are hurting, I would decrease the stimulus a little bit. So maybe you drop from 4 times a week to 3 times, or you reduce the sets and or intensity a little bit, okay? Nice and simple. So that's the setup, 4 days a week. I want you to just run it for as long as you possibly can. Just literally switch your brain off, be a robot, just go in, tick the sessions off week after week after week. Start each block light, end them heavy. Make very small changes block to block. If you get a bit confused, you don't really know what changes to make, feel free to leave a comment and I'll help you through it. Now, this is the strength training portion of the bench pressing. So we've got our 4 times a week setup. How about the bodybuilding accessories? Like, how do we actually get bigger muscles in like our pecs, our delts, our triceps and stuff like that? Now, I've got a list of accessories that I personally run through and I have my clients go through. And these accessories are designed to increase the muscle mass of the upper body pressing muscles so that you can get as big as possible, so that you can bench as heavy weights as possible. I recommend that you go through this list once a week, ticking it off. Basically, I want you to choose one horizontal or vertical press. So basically, pick which muscle you think is a bit of a weak point. So if you think your shoulders are weaker, pick a vertical press where you press overhead. I prefer like a dumbbell shoulder press or a seated shoulder press machine. If you feel like your pecs are the limiter, do a horizontal press in this plane. So like a chest press machine, an incline dumbbell press, even a dip would be useful here. Then I would choose 1 or 2 tricep isolation exercises, preferably one where the elbows are close to the body down here like this, like a tricep push down, and then one where the elbows are overhead. So like a cable tricep extension, a skull crusher or something like that. Then I would pick one isolation exercise for each heads of the delts, the front delt, the side delts, and the rear delts. I like dumbbell front raises with a neutral grip. I like dumbbell lateral raises, and I like doing rear delt flies on like a chest press machine. You might be thinking like, why are we doing front raises? Your shoulders are never going to be too strong. And plus, it's probably beneficial for the health of the shoulders to train them in all different planes. Because how often are we really like training this plane of motion if we're not doing a ton of vertical pressing and stuff like that? So train them all for 2 to 4 sets of 5 to 10 reps at RPE 8 to 10. Maybe start your training block closer to RPE 8, end the block closer to RPE 10, like pushing all the way to failure. And just try and beat the logbook every single time. Don't think about getting a pump, a burn, a squeeze. Just go in with the mindset of, I hit this number last week. I hit 10 kilos for 3 sets of 8. I have to add reps or weight this time, okay? So the strength training stuff, we're going to be a little bit more intelligent with and periodize it. We're going to do some work heavy, some work lighter. The bodybuilding stuff, we just want to go ham. We want to get as jacked as possible, close to failure. This stuff is much easier to recover from. It's on cables, dumbbells, machines. It's much easier to recover from than heavy barbell-based stuff. So I really hope these tips help you. Very quick bonus tip, please look into improving your bench press technique. I've got a full video here on how to bench. And don't be afraid to gain weight. 0.5 kilo a month, nice and slow. Try and get as big as possible. If not, you are holding yourself back. So if you found this video helpful, I have another video here on the bench press and how you can improve the strength of yours. If you'd like to work with me personally and have me assess your bench press and help you to get stronger, top link in the description. Or the second link will take you to my strength course, which includes a bunch of different training programs for you. Again, thank you so much for watching. Any questions, post them in the comment section down below. And until next time, I will catch you in the next video. Good luck hitting that 3-plate bench.